Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 299. How close are we to 300? Sheesh kebab. That is next week, because today's this week, the show's weekly. Who will be the ghost? The guest. It would be a very lonely show if I interviewed a ghost, unless I interviewed Casper, because Casper, the friendly ghost. Classic film. Anyway, so Tom is with me on today's show. Tom, hello.
Hello, Ben. How are you doing?
Mate, I am... Do you know what? The reason why I'm awesome is because I went on holiday. I sprained my ankle. It ruined my holiday. I only snowboarded 2 days out of 6. And then just as my ankle was getting better enough to ski, I got the flu. And then I spent the whole week when I came home with flu, which meant I basically couldn't work because my brain was mush and I felt like it was just no point working. I couldn't do anything. So I kind of, it wasn't a great 2 weeks. Just put it like that.
No, I spoke to you last, I think it was Tuesday, and you didn't even sound alive. Like, I spoke to you for maybe 2 minutes and I don't think you said a single coherent sentence.
Yeah. And people were like, just use the time to relax, like, take it as a break. And I was like, right, I get the sentiment, but last week I was off work. This week I'm meant to be back at work. One, there's only so much time you can take off work. And then two, like, what am I meant to do? Like, literally sit in bed for a week and watch Netflix. That's just not who I am. So I did spend a lot of the week wrestling with tasks and things that I could do. But anyway, I'm back. I actually wrote out my training plan for today, and the last entry in my training plan was the 1st of February. So I haven't trained in 17 days. And throughout that process, I obviously stopped taking creatine, which has obviously quite a nice muscle volumizing effect. I hadn't weight trained, so I was looking like quite rangy. Like, I haven't not weight trained for that long in a long time.
Yeah, you're gonna be really sore when you train and then like wake up tomorrow. It's gonna suck, man. You need to prepare for that.
Yeah, so I've prepared yesterday and I went and did a 30-minute run, and I did 5 chin-ups, then 20 press-ups, and then 20 bodyweight squats. And after that, I'll be honest, I was pretty fucked.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be awful, man.
So anyway, right, before we get into today's show, some exciting news. I am doing a live recording of the podcast. So we're going to have a stage, we're going to have a big audience of people, and it's going to be cool as fook. If you want to turn up, we're doing it in Belfast, and we're doing it on the 19th of, when is it? May, 19th of May. How do you get a ticket? If you go to Ticketmaster, which is that massive global ticketing site, go onto there, type in my name, you'll see a ticket, and the ticket is only £15. And we're going to be doing a live recording of the show. It's probably going to be about a 2-hour show with some Q&A and all that kind of stuff. I'm really excited. If you're in Ireland, Northern Ireland, it'd be amazing if you could come along. I think it's going to be a great event, and it'd be awesome to just try and meet and see a lot of people. Second to that, I want this show to grow. And people are always tagging me in social media and sharing the love and all that kind of stuff. So I want to try and give back to the people that are always helping the show and really, flying the flag for what we're doing. So if anyone shares this show and you end up tagging me in it, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we'll see it. Every week I'll be giving someone a free 30 minutes with me on Skype. So if you share the show, you tag us in, we'll make a note of it, and then I'll reach out to that person. And that's just to say thank you for sharing the show. You never know, we might get a couple more tags in the process. Right, Thomas, the questions, how are we looking?
Yeah, we've got some really cool ones this week, so we'll dive in. So first one. Hey Ben, apologies if you are currently inundated with emails, as I presume you are with how awesome your advanced and coaching is. First, thank you for being consistently amazing at what you do and powering through. I listen to your podcasts on my walk to work, and it's always so reassuring to learn new things and to understand the health and fitness industry in a non-bullshit way. I want to ask your opinion on female muscle growth, as I have heard your opinions on general muscle growth recently and I've been struggling for a while. It's taken me a long time, a good 5 years, to finally reach my ultimate training style and body confidence. I tried it all, honestly. I used to be a fitness consultant but found being immersed in the gym culture just wasn't for me, and it wasn't until I stepped out of it that I truly found my passion and love. I train now for the enjoyment mostly, but of course I would like to see the benefits on the outside related to as well and energised I feel on the inside. I love a good regimented routine. I train every morning in the week, bar one, which I am flexible in choosing. I train from 8:30am to 8am, a time I found I prefer to work in. I'm pretty much the only girl that uses the prowler, battle ropes and tyres in my gym, and this is the exercise I adore and feel confident doing. I also love a good set of hand cleans and a spot of barbell squat work, but I usually keep my workouts away from the rack unless it's bench press, as it doesn't suit me. After training, I get the tube and then walk to work. In the evenings, I'll either walk back or run if I feel energised enough, a total of around 20,000 steps a day on average. I've been through working out too much and I now know when my body can't take it, so this may sound like a lot of work, but I'm listening to my body and I'm happy with this. However, I appreciate downtime and always walk places because it calms me and helps me relax. My question is, I have really struggled to build the muscle in my upper body and I just don't know what else to be doing. I work in hypertrophy reps, usually 15 to 20, 2 upper body days in the week, 2 lower body days, and the weekend is a bit of mixed high intensity circuits with some stability work. I usually stick to a set program which includes the key upper body lifts, so shoulder press, Arnold press, military press, seated row, and then some more fun ones along the side. Commandos, half handstand press-ups, eccentric pull-ups, etc. But I haven't seen any growth over the past few years of this type of routine. I heard you talking about your belief that someone just doesn't have the ability to build muscle in certain areas, and I'm wondering if this might be the case, or am I being rather stupid and forgetting some key facts, stats and exercises? I eat well, track my macros for a while, and once I gauged my portions I stopped and allowed myself to not get set on it. I find eating 2 big meals a day in the latter end of the day helps myself to not overeat, and if I'm honest, this technique has been one of the main factors of turning my training and health around. I don't believe my eating habits are the main cause. I don't track my protein, but I wouldn't say I undereat that macronutrient, and if I feel I haven't had enough, I'll supplement with a protein powder. Apologies for this overly long email, I didn't realise I had an essay to write. Thank you again for all you do and what your staff do. It's so refreshing for the industry. Many thanks, Georgie.
Tom, I can't help to think that you were not being kind to Awesome Supplements there, because she actually quotes Awesome Supplements.
She does. I didn't say that. She said, I'll supplement with, as it happens, your Awesome Supplements protein powder. Apologies, I missed that bit.
Whee! Because it is awesome. So this is a cool question, because I think it's a question where a lot of people are going to be at, and I think this is very much an interesting question when you have kind of been in the gym for like 5, maybe 8 years, like you're being fairly seasoned, and you kind of, like when you're younger and you're getting into the gym, especially when you're male, like when I was younger and I was in the gym, it was all about building muscle. It was all about getting stronger. Like I was very much driven by, my alpha gene and my want to kind of create a certain physique. And then as time passed, I kind of became a bit less interested in that. I didn't want to be in the gym all the time, and also I just enjoyed being outside and doing some running and just doing some other stuff. But don't get me wrong, there's still a part of me, like many people, that kind of say, oh, well, I'd still like to try and push for some other goals. Like I'd maybe still like to try and get, 6, 7, 8 pounds heavier in terms of muscle. And we get to that point where we're always struggling. Like, do we really want to commit that dedicated gym time? Because don't get me wrong, there's an amount of gym training that someone's going to need to do to really push towards a goal. If you're only in the gym 2 days a week, you're going to struggle to make some serious progress. Don't get me wrong, you can maintain muscle, you can do good things, but if you're really trying to push the body, there's got to be a certain amount of time there, or there's got to be a real effort for intensity. And that's kind of where I want to pick up with this question. Now, we could maybe argue that your diet is not good enough in terms of there's maybe not a consistent level of certain things, maybe protein. You say you don't track it. There might be days, for example, some people do like meat-free days. I'm not saying that on these meat-free days you don't get enough protein, but you might not get enough protein, for example, because your approach is not really consistent. Now, if you're eating enough, I'd like to think that you've got enough meal consistency to build muscle, if the intensity is there. Now, what I don't see in your training, and I don't know how much background there is here, is I don't really see any strength work. I don't really see you saying, you know, I'm going to make my upper body, lower body, my whole body really strong, because there's a lot of high rep work and then there's a lot of conditioning based work. Now, that's absolutely fine to a degree, but there's a point in time where we need to be doing strength work to essentially attack the muscle from various different angles. So I'd like to see some dedicated strength work in your programming. I think like anything long term, when we're looking at building the body from a hypertrophy and a strength perspective, we do need to go through these cycles. So you haven't really done any strength work from what I can see for a while. And remember, for you to really accumulate more volume in volume sets, you need to keep getting stronger. And if you're always training at like 15, 20 reps, and then a lot of your work is high intensity on top, I bet that most times you go into the gym, you're still lifting, you know, the 35 kilo, the 40 kilo over your head for reps, where really, if you're going to accumulate volume to build, muscle, that weight still needs to go up. So we still need to strength train. So if I was your coach, I would cut down on some of the high intensity work just a little bit. I'd probably follow like a Jim Wendler 5-3-1 or a 5x5, or, you know, kind of 6 reps and below strength program. And I'd probably follow that for a good 2 to 3 months. And then I'd drop into 3 to 6 weeks of hypertrophy training, and then drop back to strength training for 2 months, and then maybe have like a good 3-4 months of hypertrophy training. Because at some point you've got to get stronger. And from my experience, especially with females, there seems to be great potential in the lower body to be strong with females, and not so much in the upper body. And that's really just because of the way females are built compared to men. You know, men are often a lot broader, wider. You know, there's already a lever advantage there with a lot of the lifts. So I'd like you to maybe look at your nutrition and make sure it's consistent, but really get stuck in and lift some heavy weights for a bit, and then build up the volume. And really, even when you build up the volume, probably be doing sets where you're doing 8, 12, 15 and 20 reps, rather than staying at like the 50 to 20 rep range, because even at that range, you're never really tapping into some heavy weights.
Yeah, I think you covered most of it there. I mean, when we talk about the hypertrophy range in lifting weights, it usually ends up being like sort of 8 to 12. And you ideally would be lifting at somewhere between 65 and 85% of your 1 rep max. So yeah, that's usually the 8 to 12 range. You can build muscle with a higher rep range, of course. There's been a few studies where people have done like 30 reps and made gains. But the important thing is that those 30 rep sets go pretty close to failure. Now, you haven't mentioned in here whether you do that or not. But being that you are sort of working in the 15 to 20 range, it's very rare to see someone really, really pushing it at them levels. So as Ben mentioned, I would definitely recommend looking at some lower repetition ranges. If you're not happy doing 5s, that's fine, but I would definitely bring them down to like the 8 to 12 sort of place. The big thing that kind of stuck out for me was when you talked about nutrition, the main things that you mentioned were around not overeating, which I do think could be a mindset that is holding you back a little bit, in that we do know that gaining muscle without gaining weight is very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult for men, and it's even harder for women, because overall women do have a greater sort of barrier to that muscle building process. Now, men and women do build muscle at the same percentage rate. So over a course of a certain period of time, given the same amount of training, say men would gain 50% more muscle mass, so would women. But the important thing is that women start with less to begin with. And that's especially prevalent in the upper body. So one paper I pulled up here from Miller et al., which is Gender Differences in Strengths and Muscle Fiber Characteristics. Women had approximately 52% of upper body strength compared to men and 66% lower body strength. And that translated pretty well to the actual muscle size itself. So women do have a lower percentage, and the important reason the reason that I bring that up is not to like knock you down or anything like that, or try to sort of demotivate you or anything, but it is important for us to be realistic with the goals that we have ourselves set. So if you are hoping to build very big muscles, very big upper body muscles, especially things like shoulders and traps, the progress is going to be slow, so don't necessarily be disappointed if that is the case. But looping it back to the food thing, if you're not gaining weight gradually, I mean, you say you've been lifting like this for a few years now. If you've pretty much maintained your weight over that time, then I do think that's going to be one big thing that holds you back. So if you're not wanting to track your calories and macros long term, that's totally cool. I don't myself. I don't recommend people do it all the time. But it would be worth maybe spending a couple of weeks to kind of recalibrate and just find out what it is that you're eating, how much protein you're eating, how many calories you're eating. And if it is the case that you have maintained weight for a long time, it might be worth, alongside these training recommendations that we've made, increasing your calories a little bit, not a huge amount, maybe 10% or whatever, just so you do gradually see those scales increase a little bit, because that is going to give you the kind of room that you need to build the muscle that you want to build. If you're always worrying when trying to build muscle about not gaining fat, that is a mentality that is potentially going to lead you to just spin your wheels, because every time you eat enough that you will start making progress, you're going to think, oh, wait, I don't want to do this. I don't want to build muscle because I don't want to gain the fat alongside of it. So if you're always trying to maintain weight, if you're always trying to maintain body fat, that could be the place to look at.
Yeah, so I did a Facebook post last week or something, and I talked about kind of CrossFit, and I picked up on why I felt CrossFit females were getting really good results, and it kind of drawn a fair bit of attention to CrossFit. And my post was basically saying, look, I think there's an intensity problem here. Like, there's a huge amount of men that, in my experience, generally get better results than females in the gym from like a real, like, I'm going to say athletic standpoint, like really looking at body composition, muscle density and strength. And I think it's because of intensity. Like, traditionally, a lot of female training, and I'm not saying everyone's doing this now, but traditionally a lot of female training's been, I'm just going to say, nicer, like classes. You know, we've been doing weights, but we've been doing it quite nicely and quite controlled. Whereas the men have been in the weight rooms, like grunting and lifting and throwing and just kind of basically getting angry with weights. And while some people might frown upon that, that's really what stimulates muscle growth and strength, by really telling the muscle, fuck, like something's happening here, we've got to adapt. And I don't think we've seen that enough in female training. And CrossFit comes along, and CrossFit says, hey, we're going to lift some really heavy weights and get you strong. We're going to get you really mobile. We're going to do some volume sets, and then we're going to get really fit and functional and jump about and row and all sorts. And I think that has been a great stimulus for the body. And we've seen great results in both females and males because the environment demands intensity. You cannot avoid it. So I'm not saying in this example we're lacking intensity. It sounds like there's a nice amount of intensity here. But I think some of the intensity is not driven in the right way. And I think it's just a general point for everyone to understand that if you're not adapting in your training, and I can look at my own training, like, you know, especially the back end of last year, I can look at my training and say, I was not training hard enough for the results that I wanted consistently. So that was when I made the decision to get a coach, because I wanted the coach to say, hey, today you're going to work hard and this is how you're going to work hard. And, you know, I'm really enjoying my training. I'm not training anymore, but I'm training with purpose. And I noticed over the last couple of months, I seem to be maintaining a really good sort of overall muscle mass from limited training, largely twice a week, but having superb intensity in my workouts.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think the growth of strength sports is at least partly to blame as well. I mean, if you go back 10 years and you go to a powerlifting meet, you might get 3 women competing, and 2 of them will be the wives of men that were competing who just fancied having a go. Whereas now you'll get 20, 30 women in every weight class in like local meets. And I think it's awesome. I just think that generally speaking, the whole women shouldn't lift weights thing is finally starting to die down. And yeah, I just think it's brilliant that the conversation's now turned not to, or how can women avoid getting bulky, but how can people of both genders actually get the kind of results that they want to get from the training that they want to do. So I do think that a big hat tip towards intensity is worthwhile. The thing that really, I'm going to get my little rant in here. The thing that really pisses me off about social media fitness is the whole glute training thing, where you'll get an attractive girl records a video of her doing some sort of unbelievably elaborate glute training thing, and she's picked that exercise to record because it's the exercise that show her glutes off more, because that is what is going to sell her detox tea and fucking green tea extract. But if you actually look at how anyone really should train to get glutes, it looks absolutely nothing like that. We're looking at heavy deadlifts, heavy squats, sumo deadlifts and hip thrusts. But those don't look so good in video, so they aren't advertised as much. And it's the only thing that I think is kind of that latent attitude that women shouldn't lift heavy. I think that's the only place that it still exists, because you'll still go into gyms now and there will be girls lifting with the lightest bands possible doing millions and millions of bodyweight squats, because that's what they see on Instagram. And yeah, that's the only little thing in fitness that still bugs us in this context. But I do think it's definitely getting better, and I don't know whether CrossFit's entirely to blame. I would say it's probably not, because as I say, powerlifting, strongman, and now both getting a really strong female following. And I think it's brilliant because, as we know, there's a lot more that you'll get out of strength training than just a more muscular physique, and that can only be a good thing.
Tom, amazing point, but I think we need to highlight an even more important issue in the women. With all this glute training lark with the bands and the little hip drives and all that kind of stuff, you're making men feel awkward all over the country, because a man walks past, he takes a casual glance to his right to wonder what that girl is doing, and then he realises that she's doing some kind of crab impression, and then he's looked directly up her, and you then turn and think, fuck, she caught me looking, and all I did is look right for a glance to see what this crazy person was doing with the band. And I'm going to be honest, I've been caught out a couple of times, and all I was literally doing was looking right, seeing what that person was doing. I was like, whoa, I shouldn't have looked over at that point in time. So it's just a polite consideration that you're making many men red-cheeked all over the country by doing these very weird, very, as my girlfriend would put it, foofy exposing exercises.
It's fine, because to be fair, I also do hip thrusts, and I'll do them in my sort of sweaty gym kit. I have like t-shirts that are slightly torn and stuff. And if someone looks at me, I will make eye contact, because it's just brilliant.
Do they keep eye contact?
They don't have a choice. Like, once you've made eye contact in that position, you're in control at that point. It's great.
That's the important thing. Whatever you do, just focus on the eyes, then look away from the eyes. That's it. There's no other eye movement needs to be made.
All right, let's crack on with the next question, eh? So, hi Ben and Tom. First things first, you guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
You both do amazing work with the podcast, and all of the info you put out is great, so thank you. I'm a recently qualified PT, and the podcast has taught me so much and made me think about things in different ways that I might not have before, and obviously in turn this has led me to a much greater effect on my client results. The BTN community group is amazing too, and a big shout out to Stephen H. He's a legend. I had a Skype call with him about one of my clients, and he's like a Jedi. He literally flipped my thought process on its head in half an hour with his mind tricks. Anyway, to my question. I've been looking into this a lot lately, as I've had a few questions about this from clients. Would you recommend full fat or fat free? Obviously, I know we need good sources of healthy fats in our diet, but I mean more specifically things like yogurts, milk and things like that. I've heard and read lots of conflicting opinions about this, and both sides have compelling arguments, which, like most things in the fitness industry, leads to the problem of not knowing what to believe. I trust both of your opinions 110%, so any advice on this would be great, as it would not only help my clients, but my own nutrition as well. Keep up the great work, and a massive thank you to both for the help and advice you both give out. Many thanks, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron. And Aaron, I recognise your name, and you've supported us for quite a while now. So thank you very much for your ongoing support of what we do. Now, with this question, I think me and Tom are going to agree here. I think our thoughts are aligned. We'll see. Generally, I think with anything, I don't think there's a die hard and fast rule. We do have to remember that dairy, as nature created it, is created a certain way for a reason. So dairy contains a lot of the fat-soluble vitamins. And if we always keep eating dairy in its non-fat form, we have to consider that we're not going to get as much of the benefits of some of the vitamin or micronutrient components of dairy. And there's some good stuff in there, vitamin D, etc. So I think there almost needs to be a bit of a mix. Now, low-fat dairy can serve a great purpose. For example, a big tub of that skyr Icelandic yogurt can be a great, cheap, high-protein snack, like throw a bit of fruit in it and stuff. So, that's all cool. But if all of our dairy is non-fat, then we potentially have a vitamin problem. Now, that obviously depends on the rest of your diet. Like, are you getting these vitamins and minerals in the rest of your diet? If not, then potentially that's an even bigger problem. So I think, and this is the way I do it. I have whole milk because I enjoy the taste. I eat normal fat cheeses. And then if I have yogurt, I quite often have low-fat yogurt because I can eat a lot of it and it's tasty, but I don't always have it that often. So I've got what I feel is a decent mix between full fat and non-fat. And that would kind of be how I'd look at it. I know you're potentially asking for a black and white answer that you can go away and give your clients, like, don't eat full fat dairy, it's bad, or save calories, eat non-fat. I just don't think it's like that. So I think if we get a balance, I think we're good.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I mean, I do a very similar thing to you in that I will have full fat cheese. I refuse to eat low fat cheese, apart from the protein cheese you can get, because I treat that in the same way as the way I think of it is that high protein, fat free cheese stuff is as close to cheese as a protein bar is to a chocolate bar. And I accept the latter, so I have to accept the former. But when it comes to just general cheese consumption, yeah, I will only ever go for the full fat version because it's the taste thing. We usually go for semi-skim milk just because, unlike yourself, we go through a lot of it. Like, I usually drink a pint or so of milk a day just habitually, so that would save me a lot of calories. And as you say, we need to think about this whole thing really on two fronts. There's the vitamin and mineral content, and then there's the calorie content. So people can achieve nutrient sufficiency without eating any dairy at all. And that suggests that we don't need to worry too much, in my opinion, about the vitamins and stuff in full-fat dairy, unless, of course, it does make up a really significant portion of your diet, because if you are relying on that for the vitamins, then they become important. Calcium probably being the main one. But we need to think of it in terms of both fat-free and non-fat, but also there's the old classic argument of, generally speaking, when fat is removed from something, something else needs to be added in order to make up the difference. And there are a lot of low-fat yogurts on the market that have the same, if not more, calories as the full-fat version, just because they've been pumped full of sugar. Now, sugar per se is not necessarily the problem that it's always been made out to be, but it does have some problems in that a low-fat yogurt will never be as creamy as a full-fat version, and that impacts on mouthfeel, and the mouthfeel is going to impact on satiety. The fat in a full-fat yogurt is also going to slow gastric emptying, so that's going to make you full for longer. So what I'm trying to say there in a roundabout way is, if you're eating fat-free, high-sugar yogurts, there's a good chance that they're not going to be keeping you as full as a full-fat version would have, which can then subsequently influence the amount of food that you eat later in the day. With the high protein yogurts, so Greek yogurt or the skyr that you mentioned, that's probably less of a concern because the protein within it is going to help with the satiety thing anyway. But really with this one, it's a case-by-case basis. There isn't a hard and fast rule that high fat is the best or fat-free is the best. It comes down to which one is going to fit your calorie requirements for the day and which one is going to make sure that you sort of, I don't know, I think food needs to be about enjoyment as well, and that's why I don't opt for low-fat cheese, but I would opt for a lower-fat yogurt because I can enjoy a lower-fat yogurt. I couldn't enjoy a lower-fat cheese, so it's probably worthwhile taking it on that sort of side as well.
I think just to round that off, if you're confused when you're kind of looking at two options, maybe veer towards the more natural choice. Tom's mentioned that some stuff might be taken out, some stuff might be put back in, like something like Greek yogurt, for example, is made in a way which it retains a lot of the protein and not much of the fat. So it's a very natural process to get towards the end product. We can't say the same for all these products on the shelf. They haven't got the product to where it is via natural means. They've, subtracted some stuff and added some stuff. So I think that might be a good fallback plan for you because as much as we talk about if it fits your macros and calories and making your diet work for you, as much of your diet as possible needs to be natural. And if a decent amount of your calories can often be coming from dairy, then if it's not that natural anymore, then we need to raise the question, how healthful is your diet going to end up being?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. There's that paper that came out recently that indicated that ultra-processed foods are more closely linked with cancer. We've done a post on BTN that sort of critiques it a little bit, but it's definitely something that's worth bearing in mind that if you are making your diet up of predominantly well-processed foods, as you say, there's a difference between a fat-free Greek yogurt that's just been made that way through natural means and a fat-free Muller Lite, I'm just going to say the name. So we do need to make a decision based on that too.
Yeah, if anyone wants to, if anyone's not heard that there was a British Medical Journal paper that came out comparing a load of, they called it like processed foods and cancer risk. Like if anyone's confused on that, go over to the Body Type Nutrition Facebook page and have a look at our rundown of what we thought on that paper. Maybe share it with clients, tag your clients in, because it has alarmed quite a few people, and I think it was a little bit careless of the BMJ to sort of start to really throw around the cancer word in an observational study. It was a correlation study, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was an observational study. To be fair, the BMJ just reported the results. It's the media that spins it every time. So if you're getting your sort of understanding of what's going on in nutrition science from the media, just don't. just don't.
So have a look on our Facebook page. That will help ease the fear because there's nothing to be fearful of.
Very true. So let's move on to question 3. So, hi Ben, I'm 21 years old from Norwich and have played football since I was 6. More recently, I've been lifting since I was 17. At 5'9" and 78 kilograms, I successfully gained a good amount of muscle. However, it was only in the last year or so that I learned about mobility, stretching, foam rolling, and I've introduced them into my training, which I've definitely needed. After going to a physio, I've discovered I've developed lordosis due to imbalances caused through years of football and quad dominant training. Tight hip flexors, glutes and hamstrings have meant that I've never really felt agile or athletic, which I should from my involvement in fitness. I'm now working on these imbalances, however I'm due to join the Royal Navy in February 2017. My training focus has always been a 4-way tug-of-war between aesthetics, football, functional fitness and running. I love to lift, but I'm always chopping and changing my programs and calories to target everything. Surplus to strengthen glutes and hamstrings, deficit to lean out so I'm more athletic, etc. I've just been made aware of my start date, which is earlier than expected, so I was wondering if you had any advice on how to juggle lifting for an optimal functional body and CV endurance-based training for this 6-month period home straight now I have ahead of me. It's almost as if I need a reset button on my body to feel mobile and capable once again. Very long-winded and subjective question, but there may be other people that have their fingers in too many pies, let's say. Let's keep up the great work you're doing. Amazing things in the industry. Thanks, Sam Caps.
So, Sam, I'm hoping that we're not really late, and this question is actually that you're trying to join the Royal Navy in February 2018. If it is February 2017, I'm sorry we're so late, but there is a massive backlog of podcast questions, and sometimes they're not always in the most recent of orders. Anyway, I'm going to pass comment on this question because I thought it was good. I talked about at the beginning of this podcast why I got a coach and how it's impacted myself, and we've talked about it a little bit on previous podcasts as well. I think in your instance you are the perfect person that needs a coach because you're battling between several goals and you're really torn, and sometimes you just need someone to say, oi, let's strip this back, let's really look at what your goals actually are, and let's focus on this. And we'll focus on this for like 3 months, and then we'll focus on this for 3 months, and then we'll see where you're at again, and then we'll move forward. Or it might be that you buy a book that's specific to your problem. So for example, if someone just wanted to get strong, something like the Jim Wendler program, 531, is a great program. You can just buy the book, you can download the program, follow the program. It's going to get you strong. Could it achieve multiple goals? No, you're going to need more intelligent programming. You're going to need a more intelligent approach, and you're going to need to know more as an individual to implement it. But that's not the point. The point is that there's a huge amount of people that are diving between one goal and another goal and are kind of torn. And someone or something needs to draw a line in the sand and say, "Hey, stop it. What's your goals? Focus. Right. Now go away and do this." And your kind of question is asking me to focus your goals. If someone's so confused and cannot make the decision by being objective, and this is where for me I'd literally get out a piece of paper and a pen and doodle a bit. Right, what are my goals? Okay, what scientific training methodologies should I use to get to this goal? Okay, this and this. Okay, well really I need to go away and do this. And as soon as you start to say but I want to do this, or but I want to do that, you know that you need to stand back and be objective and say, no, this is my goals and these are the 2-3 things that I need to do to get to my goal. Now go and do it. But if someone can't be objective and do that, you need to go away and find a book or a coach or a process or a system that can almost force your hand and force the intervention so that you focus on the right thing at the right time.
Definitely. I mean, to look a little bit more specific at like this case, the thing is with any military joining tests, the degree of fitness that you need to actually get into the military isn't as high as most people would think it is, because they try to they need to test you to make sure that you're not going to die in basic training, but the bulk of the fitness that you will get will come from basic training. So with joining the Navy, you need to do, I think it's 2.4 kilometer run in under about 12 and a half minutes. Then if you want to join the Marines, you've got to do another one straight after in under 10 minutes. So realistically, if you can do a 5K in under 20 minutes, you'll be absolutely fine. So I would focus on trying to get that 5K time down. And then the strength component is sit-ups and press-ups. I think you've got to do 50 in a row or 50 in a couple of minutes or something. So as with anything, you need to look at, as Ben said, you need to look at what your goals are and really define them. And when it comes to joining the military, your goals are already predefined in the tests. So it comes down to finding what the tests are looking for and trying to cut out all of the chaff that you're doing alongside that. So if you're spending a lot of time in the gym doing things like curls and lateral raises and pull downs and these sorts of things, and sort of trying to focus too much on aesthetics, you're potentially wasting a lot of time that could be spent on doing something a bit more productive for the goal that you actually have. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with training to look aesthetic. I'm sure most of us do it, but when you're in the Navy or when you're in the Marines, either you're going to be in a place where you've got a gym and you can focus on that at the time, or you're going to be so far removed from that situation that it's not even going to be a concern for you anyway. So we need to think about this long term and just say, try to make all of your training, everything that you do, there should be a reason for doing it. Everything that you include in a training program, there needs to be a why. As soon as you start including sort of things willy-nilly that don't necessarily relate directly to the goal that you're actually trying to aim for, that's when you're just basically impeding on your recovery, or you're impeding on the actual time that you have to spend working towards something, and it could be spent doing something a little bit more targeted.
Word. So, that's it. We're done, Tom.
We're done. Podcast 299, man. Jesus.
299. Didn't even get a Mr. Whippy at the end of it. Sad times. Right, that's it. So if you want to come join the show in Belfast, come and join us on the 19th of May. Go and grab a ticket at ticketmaster.ie or .com or whatever. Just type my name in. Another update on the BTN Academy, as well as the Foundation Academy being AFN certified. It is also now REP certified as well. So all the points are racking up. We have just analysed 10 different companies on the Awesome Supplements website, analysing other companies' pre-workout products and trying to define if companies out in the supplement world are ripping you off, essentially, with a lot of bold claims and not a lot of substance. So if you're interested in that, go over to the the Awesome Supplements blog and check out that little report. I think it's pretty cheeky. I think it's a bit eye-opening. I think it will make people sit back and realise that there is a lot of companies not putting what you expect in supplement products. And I think this is important, especially when there's a huge amount of competition and claims in the supplement world. You need to be doing due diligence to check that the stuff that you're buying actually has what you expect in it. Otherwise, you are wasting your money. And there's a huge amount of products out there that just are, a fancy cup of caffeine or a fancy cup of something where there's, yes, one or two ingredients that are high and the rest are low. And it shouldn't be like that. But anyway, you can go and have a look at that on the blog on the Awesome Supplements website. Otherwise, that is it from me. The people coming to the Kaizen event this weekend, can't wait to see you. Myself and Tom will be back in a couple of weeks. If you want to go and just generally get some cool information on nutrition and performance, go to bodytypenutrition.co.uk or the Body Type Nutrition Facebook page. If you want to know more about supplements, even if it's just getting some free cool information, again, go over to awesomesupplements.co.uk, have a root around. There's loads of free information there. Otherwise, that's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me.
Sweet. And have an amazing week. Have an amazing day. And I will be back with episode 300 next week.
Cheers, everyone.
See you later. Bye. Hey everyone, Coomber Radio, episode number